One.
Well, Jen, do you want an intro?
Te toca. It's your turn here.
Well, welcome to our Happy Melly Go Positive campaign wrap-up discussion for those watching and for you guys on the call. It's been a really great week. I'm personally really impressed with everyone who participated, the thoughts, sort of things that came up that I didn't even think would really come up. And so, pretty much this next, almost hour-ish, just want to hear how it was for everyone, what it was like, if it was challenging, individually, I think, and as companies, because we have some companies on here that partnered with us. So yeah, let's just dive right in. Who wants to start with what the week was like for them, and perhaps what any specific challenge that they found, specifically hard? Should I choose someone, or who wants to start? All right there, Laia, Chantel.
I was just gonna say I don't mind starting if that's the case. To be very honest, for us, it was pretty much a normal week. We have a very it's very part of our company culture to be very positive, and even when we're hiring people, we go through lots of steps to make sure that everyone is super positive as we are and that we all get along really well. Because I think the first thing with positivity is how you are in your personal state. If you're not happy at home, if you're not happy with your environment or the people that you're working with, you're not going to be happy or positive in your job or in any aspect of life. And at least for me, and I think I maybe speak for Laia and everyone here as well, it's really important for us that we're working with friends more than colleagues. We'll all go out and do stuff together after work or even during our morning coffee. And it creates a really great environment. And we just make sure that we use that in everything we do. We have 3 company values, which are, everyone knows here, it's our thing, which are admire people, always find a better way, and customer experience freaks. And for example, even in our every week, we have a weekly meeting on Monday morning. And we start off the meeting by saying, for example, one piece of good news that happened to us that week, whether personal or professional. And we always say, each person says an example of where they've seen one of these 3 values in their lives or in our team every week. And for us, it's a really big help to make sure that we encourage each other and that we all stick together, and that it really can stay positive, because when you're working with people that you get along with, you're okay with saying, look, that didn't go so well, but you know what? It was a great experience. We learned from it, and next time we'll be able to do better. Or, look, you did something yesterday that it wasn't okay with me, but let's talk about it. Let's get it off the table, and then we can just forget about it and move on, and things don't end up sort of festering and just getting worse and worse for not talking about them. So for us, to be honest, the week was actually quite normal.
And tell us about your company. How big is your company? What do you guys actually do?
Okay, so we do digital marketing for different companies. We work with their social ads campaigns, with their email marketing campaigns, native ad campaigns. Our team is quite small. At the moment, there's 13 of us. We're actually welcoming a new intern next week, which I'm really excited about. But for us, for example, in our recruitment process, which is not, I think, at least I was quite surprised when I started about a year ago here at CyberClick, and we have a lot of interviews. It takes quite a while, but it's really great because before anyone comes into the team, every person on the team meets that person. And since we're quite little, since there's only 13 of us, that's possible. We have the person come in and we go for coffee with them or for lunch with them. And everyone gives their opinion. So, if they say, look, this person, they might be great technically, they might have an awesome CV, but I just really think that in terms of values, it's not going to work. Or, I really don't think that personally we're not going to fit in together. And then we don't go forward with it. So we make sure that we have a great environment where we work, because otherwise it's really hard to stay positive.
I was just thinking logistically, is that 13 coffees for the person?
No.
You tag team?
So the way we do, first we have our founder, which is David. He interviews them first in terms of values, and the people as well who will be working with them. So for example, our design team will interview any potential designers that come in and work with us. And then from then on, we have the second phase where we do like little, what we call almost small groups. So we'll have like an interview with 3 people at a time, for example, to get to know them. And then at the end, we'll all go for coffee together downstairs. We have a great coffee place, which is also where we do our 10:30 regular morning coffees that are a must.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense. I was thinking that's like really hard on the stomach for whoever's.
Yeah, no, that would be far too much. I think even with this amount of interviews, it's already quite challenging sometimes.
So what you're talking about is culture fit, essentially, not necessarily, like you said, are an amazing CV. It's interesting, because you guys, so you saying as a company, this wasn't really hard for you. It was part of the norm. And before you guys were on the call, and Diane as well, Giovanni was saying that something for him, that he was trying to get companies on board this week and they wouldn't join. And so Giovanni, do you want to expand on that a little bit and just maybe explain what you were up against and what their reasoning was?
What I think, because I have noticed that companies was scared about an entire week of positive posts and thoughts, no, and this was a strange issue for me, because I know, I understand that it's difficult to block ourselves to post something not positive, but in the same time, it's simple to be awareness that something is positive. Okay, this is the go positive week, and I use this to spread, happiness or positive thinking on the web. Yes, this is an interesting point personally, because for me the week, yes, it was quite normal, and I agree with Chantal, and but it's true that it was important for me to be aware about what I want to post, and what my company wanted to post. No, it's like a sort of meditation, roughly. No, before posting something on the web, I took a breath. I think about the positive post, and then I push the button post on Facebook or on Twitter.
And so, do you think that your posts were any different than other weeks? Like, do you think in other weeks maybe they would have had a more negative tinge to them, or even neutral?
No, roughly not. Because my company spread happiness, so we usually post materials about joy, happiness, or positive thinking. No, so it was quite normal and not different from the previous week. But it was very interesting to see which friends of mine and the followers of my company like the post, the positive post, because usually the people were the same, no? And in the same way, I understood which people that follow me and my company is positive people.
You guys are both like, I feel like we need a really negative company to come on here and say, okay, this is a challenge. But Diane, sorry, what?
Oh no, I was just gonna say something interesting. Is one of my clients, who is a total like Happy Melly profile and are really nice and really great team spirit, said no way, like absolutely they didn't want to be involved in this. And like they're a software company or they're a business software company, and definitely social media marketers would be like a target audience for them too. But they said that for them, honesty was such an important policy for their company that they didn't want to do anything that would have them risk authenticity for a week. So I thought that was very interesting.
So then that poses a question, I think, can you, like, do you have to be positive at the expense of authenticity? Yeah. Or can you be honest and still be positive?
In a positive way.
Right. Yeah. Like, why does that have to rule out positivity, honesty?
Diana, how does that work for your role, since you have to a lot of times represent other brands as well as your own?
Yeah, I do. I mean, obviously I behave much better when I'm representing other people. For me, I don't work for a company, so I don't have, it's just me, I'm freelance, I just work on my own. So I took part in this week because I thought it would be really easy, just a simple thing to do. Post, but I thought I'm not an unhappy person, I'm not a negative person. I can sort of go through the week and just carry on as normal and post all my normal things. And then actually, as Giovanni said, I had to stop and think before every single post to think, am I being positive? Is this am I sharing something positive? Is this a positive post? And it was actually more difficult than I thought it was going to be. But yeah, as you say, when I'm representing other people, obviously everything is, nice and smiley and happy, and even if it's something negative that they're posting, you have to turn it around. It's like your clients who didn't want to get involved because they didn't want to lose their authenticity. Well, you can turn it around and make a negative into a positive by using positive words and positive to try and solve a problem or whatever, to try and make, put a positive spin on it. It's always possible. So I would always do that for other people, and not so much on my own profiles, obviously.
Can you give us an example of a time when you've had a client that you needed to give some sort of positive spin on it?
I do some work for a market research company, and a regular complaint that they have is, I've applied 100 times and I haven't been chosen. Why haven't I been chosen? I think this is all a con or a scam, and you have to just sort of say, well, we can't tell you exactly what we need for a person, because everyone will just lie to get onto the project because they get paid to do the projects. So we have to sort of explain to them that it's all part of it has to be sort of secret. They're only going to get chosen because they fit the criteria, and we can't tell them what the criteria is. And just you have to just say, keep replaying, you'll get on eventually. And but there are a lot of complaints like that. A lot.
Jen posted your question in the Slack channel. I guess, I don't know if you guys at CyberClick were on that, but it was kind of the role that social media plays in company culture, right? Jen was like, we're asking like, what role does social media play? And I'm wondering if negativity on social media, if you feel that plays a role in, I don't know, in your company image, and maybe it's sort of like the shock effect, right? Or it's like what Donald Trump posts. I mean, the more negative, the more responses you get. And then the happy stuff, I'm just wondering if it's, people kind of just like, whatever. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Is that part of your recruitment plan too, your social media? Is that something that factors in your recruitment?
I think, honestly, I think the problem, and I think the reason maybe why a lot of companies wouldn't agree to participate in something like this, is that it's like anything, right? It takes an effort to make something a habit, or to make something a routine. So if you don't make it a habit to be happy and to be positive about things, you really need to make an effort to be. I mean, all it takes is for us to turn on the TV and watch the news for you to get depressed within like 30 seconds. Or even, the way we relate with people. And I think, especially, for example, me personally, I'm from Portugal. And I see a lot in the way you relate with people is by complaining about things. You get there and you either complain that it's too hot, or it's because you're complaining because it's raining, or you complain because it's too cold, or because your, coffee has gotten cold, or you didn't sleep enough last night. But it becomes a way we interact with someone. So instead of happiness and positivity becoming our habit, it's negativity that ends up happening. So it's normal that, well, it's normal, but it shouldn't be normal. But if that's the way we relate with people, that's also what's going to happen on social media. So that's what happens is if you post something, and the most things you'll get is if you post, oh, I don't agree with this, or that was really not great what happened last night, and you'll get a whole bunch of people agreeing with you. And it's really hard to change that habit and to make that really something that you just, the only way you can really live it and really sort of expose it to everyone is if you become that on your very core. And the only way you can do that is if you really make it just a day-to-day thing, and just your average state, your default needs to be positive. There shouldn't really be a neutral. It should just be you're positive, and if something negative happens, you need to find a positive way to look at it. I think that's, for me personally, that's what I would say.
You make it sound so so easy.
Oh, it's not.
but it's exactly why we're doing these challenge weeks, because that's exactly the idea, that Jürgen has was, that we then discussed, was to make things become a daily habit. It's like going to the gym, working out that muscle and just making it routine. Because, and it's what, you guys said too, Giovanni and Dan, that when you started posting, you're like, okay, take a step back. And that was a lot of feedback too, that people said the awareness was heightened. Maybe you still wanted to post something or like something negative, but at least you were thinking about it. Whereas I think before we just kind of like anything, retweet, post. So no, I think that's a very good point. Yeah, Giovanni.
Yes, it's a very good point. And I think that the problem with positive affirmation is that for a team like us, for the member of a community like Happy Melly, is so normal to post positive post or post regarding happiness, no? But I think that for a company or for people that work in a company that usually post, I don't know, serious material, no? It's a problem to find positive media, positive thinking, or simply a positive quote, no? Because it's something too far from them, no? And I think this is one of the issue, because some companies don't want to join a week like this, no? It's not a serious problem, but absolutely it's a change of mindset, no? I have to change my mindset for an entire week, no? And this is very difficult. It's like to ask to someone to change something in your life, no? And probably we ask to change the mindset. That means company culture, no, for a company. We ask to change company culture from something to something that is more positive or more happy.
I think you're also changing the default. So because a lot of people were saying this week that, someone wrote, oh, I'm in this horrible conference right now. I'm trying to be positive, but I just really can't be positive. And so the default is, oh, this sucks. The speaker's not good. I'm bored. And so it's changing that default to go, okay, how can I see the silver lining in this? Or how can I look at this in a different way? And I think that is another challenge, for people, because it's easy to be positive when things are good, right? But I don't know, how did you guys find it? Did anyone have like a challenging moment this week, or were you frustrated? And did you have to was there a moment where you thought about how you wanted to deal with it?
There's a lot of bad shit happening in my country right now. So there's that. Like, it's hard. Like, Trump is tied with Clinton right now.
Let's not talk about that.
But that's what I mean. Like, it's hard. But I have to call you on something, Sam. I think it's very interesting. Our social media manager does not have her own Facebook. So
Right.
why are you not on Facebook? Because you're definitely very active on Twitter and others and LinkedIn, but why are you just not on Facebook?
Well, very active. Let's put that in context. You know what? If you really want my Facebook when Facebook came out, I was in Africa. Or at least when people started jumping on it. I remember someone came there and they started talking about Facebook, and I said, what's this Facebook thing? So I think, to be honest, part of it was that I really wasn't connected when everyone started going on it. So I didn't get on the bandwagon. And I think, to me, I'm not on Facebook has nothing to do with negative, positive. It's too much for me. It's too much. It's too much information, and it's too many things I have to check. I've got email accounts, I've got Slack, I've got WhatsApp, text message. I mean, it just does my head in. And I think for me to look at another medium with messages where I feel like I'd have to be responsive, I think I'd go crazy. So I think it's a bit of self-preservation, a little.
That's interesting because I had an old roommate, and I assumed you were this, who he was not on, he was 22 or 23, which was so weird to not be on Facebook a couple years ago. And I thought that was weird. And I thought he just hated social media or something. And he said, no, he felt that nothing positive came out of Facebook. So did anyone have a harder time on certain social media networks versus others this week staying positive?
Good. A good question. Diane?
I definitely found Facebook more difficult to be positive. Twitter is it's much less personal. So you can just be business-like, or you can be funny, or you can be whatever you wouldn't. It's mostly strangers on Twitter, whereas on Facebook, even on pages, a lot of the people that are liking your page or are in your group, even if it's a business group, are people that you know, or clients even. So it's much harder to be completely, you get a personal involvement in it. So things are happening all around you. It's difficult to, for example, not liking something that's negative, or it's difficult not to just automatically do that, as you said before. So I definitely found Facebook a challenge. And again, I had to stop and think about every single thing that I did on there. And just life going on around you in Facebook. You're bombarded constantly by everybody else's life. And it's not everyone is positive, and it is difficult to stay positive on there. That's Twitter and Instagram or whatever was easy, but Facebook was really difficult.
So I'm curious, so what did you do sort of when you might have felt like, okay, this is hard? Did you say like a mantra, or just back away from the computer? How did you cope with that? If
somebody was posting something negative, I just didn't react to it as normally where I would react to it. I just didn't, or I answered in a sort of, like, as I said before, I tried to put a positive spin on it, made a comment about something that, it's not all bad. It could, worst things could happen, or, just a little thing. People probably didn't know why I was doing that. Probably had no clue what I was
or it might have
going
pissed
on about.
them off, right? Because people don't want to hear that. When people are writing like their extreme drama on Facebook, I feel like saying like, oh, but life's a lot harder for refugees or something would not be in any way acceptable. Isn't that funny? Especially because Diane and I are in the same group. It's really funny. The biggest benefit I've gotten out of Facebook ever is this group of writers and bloggers about Spain work, by far. But also, a lot of the people, mostly the men in the group, are super negative. Like, holy crap, really? It's interesting.
It's a lesson for everybody to learn from this week that we've done, that we've all taken part in. If everybody did this, because there's so much negativity, people jump in too quickly and express their opinions, which they wouldn't do face-to-face with somebody. Just because they're hiding behind a computer, they think they can just express however they feel about everything. And most of it is so negative. And it gets me down on social media. That gets me down. People are so critical and judgmental. And if everyone just took a step back and took a breath before they actually posted something, it might make the internet a much nicer place to hang out in, as we all do.
Well, I just like went like this because you said something that Jen and I actually, I think on the podcast commented on this about being direct. So you're taking a little bit away from social media, but to direct communication. And that's interesting that you said people are more inclined to be direct because you're behind a screen. And so I was, in terms of that, like, do you think it's challenging for people? I think in my head is the conversation versus the confrontation. So do you think it's hard for people to envision having a direct conversation without envisioning it at the same time to get a confrontation? Does that make sense? Like, do you think people can be direct and not turn it into an argument?
They should be able to. I don't think most people can. I think it takes a certain type of person to be able to have a reasoned argument without it being offensive or nasty or judgmental. And obviously, a lot of people do struggle with that, don't they? I mean, I would never say anything online that I wouldn't say to somebody in person, and I probably wouldn't say a lot to somebody in person. I'm not a very non-confrontational person. So I think you should live your life on the internet as you do your life, and have the same morals and carry on as you would normally, because it's just there's so much negativity, and there's people being damaged by, thinking sort of children being bullied and anybody being bullied. There's trolls all over the place, and it's frightening, the awful things that people say. I mean, not just awful, nasty things, either real threats and, threats of death, and even in some circumstances. And that is, people need to rein that in and sort of hold back and not treat people would people in person.
So that's a good point.
Anybody that has kids here, do you let your kids of a certain age use social media? Or do you fear for them having access to social media?
Does anyone have kids?
I do. Excuse me. I've got a 14-year-old daughter, and she's on most social media. She's very sensible though, and she knows we have ground rules. Obviously, she's very grown up for her age as well. But she's very aware of sort of bullying, that sort of thing, although she hasn't been bullied online herself. In person, yes, but not online. And she has quite strong opinions about it, and sort of would stand up for anybody who was being picked on online. And also obviously aware of just speaking to people, strangers. I mean, I've drummed that into them from all of them from a very early age. There has to be guidelines. You have to judge each child individually as well, because they're all very different and have different levels of understanding and maturity.
I just saw yesterday a 16-year-old girl created an app that helps people privately find people to sit with at the cafeteria. So people can volunteer, say anybody can sit with me, because when she was 12 or 13, she had to switch schools because she spent a year just sitting reading by herself at the cafeteria. And then she adjusted at another school really well, but she realized there were other kids who weren't. So I think that's really cool that this
makes me want to cry. That's really sweet.
Really sweet, yeah.
I'll sit with her. I was wondering, you guys at CyberClick, because you were talking about how you have this really close connection with each other, and you'd mentioned that you're able to be direct with each other because you have that good, like, buena onda.
Yeah.
So, kind of what Diane was saying about be the same person, social media and to your face. Are you guys able to have sort of hard conversations but not have them turn negative face to face?
I think it's actually, in fact, we just got back from we do like a company retreat twice a year. And we just got back from ours like 2 weeks ago or something. And we have a thing that we call like the confessionary, which is probably something a lot of people dread actually all year. I know it was my first one, so I was a little bit nervous. But we started off like it's hard to get started, it's hard to call people out on stuff. So the way that we did it was, our first thing was that everyone was supposed to say the lowest point of the year, like the hardest moment for them in the entire year. And it's really great because the thing is, I think the most important thing is this team is that we trust each other. So, I don't mind saying, look, I did something yesterday and I messed up and I don't know how to fix it. And can someone please help me? because I know that that's not going to discredit me in any future. You know, I know if my colleagues believe in me and if they trust in, I know what I'm doing and that I'm good at what I do, it's not because of one mistake that they're going to trust me any less in the future. In fact, the other way around, I think it shows a lot of character if you're able to say, you know, look, I messed up. It gives you a lot more credibility even, because rather than if you try and hide and cover up everything that you've ever done wrong. I mean, we're human. We're always going to make mistakes. It's just part of life. It's really funny, actually. Yesterday, I was having a conversation with my friend, and she works in a reception in a hotel, and she was talking about this new intern that they'd just gotten, and that she was really frustrated with him because he did something wrong when he was putting something in the system, and he started like 2 days ago. And she said, look, you know, I just noticed you made this mistake here, and I just want to tell you so that to help you out so that next time it doesn't happen. And he started saying like, oh, no, that wasn't me. It must have been someone who got my code. And because they have like an employee code that they put in every time they make a change or something in the system. He was like, no, someone must have gotten my code and it wasn't me. And she was like, look, you know, you've been here 3 days. Of course you're going to make mistakes. If you didn't make mistakes, it wouldn't be normal. So it's so much better to just confront it and to say, yeah, you know what, it happens, right? And as long as you can, and I think here, for me, at least the confessionary, I think really helped because it opens you up to talking about things that would be, and, you know, some people talked about personal problems, about, you know, what happened, I don't know, with their parents at home, or other people, for people who, for example, have left the team over the past year, and it was really hard for them to, you know, for a person that they worked with every day. And other people talked about, for example, clients that they have trouble with, and it's really frustrating. And I think making that a regular thing also helps, you know, you think, okay, I've done it before, I can do it again. It's the first time is always really hard to do something. And once you know that you can talk to a person about something, it becomes a lot easier. And I think for us, that really helps a lot.
Did anyone say they had a problem with another teammate, like within your team of you?
I don't know. Did anyone say that they have? No, I think not this year. I don't know. Has it happened any other year?
With clients.
Only with clients.
Or more related with clients.
I think it has to do with a lot because the confessionary is also like we do some like every twice a year or something. It's like every 6 months. So I like to think at least that if there's any problem amongst each other, we wouldn't leave it 6 months to talk about, you know, at a confessionary. So.
Right. You've been holding a grudge for quite some time.
Yeah.
So Giovanni, you work in a remote or distributed team from what I understand, right? Do you use Slack or any communication tool how do you do this transparent? I'm not sure if it's easier or harder, but CyberClick is in a different situation than like us at Happy Melly because they're co-located in the same location. But how do you guys communicate awkward issues in writing?
Well, usually we communicate with Skype and Slack, with an internal Slack. But we are 4 people, so it's very simple to communicate. You know, WhatsApp, then Slack or Skype. Sometimes we have a meeting, usually in 15 days, and yes, this is our way to communicate, and I agree when you say that it's very important. For example, Slack. Or an internal tool to communicate and to spread the company culture. No, simply, for example, in the case of Full Glass, no, we spread happiness, but very simply, because we talk a lot about happiness and positive thinking and a type of affirmation, like it's natural, but we use and we don't use negative negative verb. We have a different type of language, but it's not something that we learned, but it is something that we use, usually during the day. So it's something that we apply to all tools that we use. And yes, for us it's very simple. But some years ago, I worked in a normal company where happiness is not the normal, and I know the issue, because I remember that as team leader, I introduced the stand-up meeting, positive stand-up meeting, because after 1 month that I worked with the team, the team was completely absorbed by complaints, regrets, and the stand-up meeting was a sort of confessionary, like the confessionary we said before. And so the communication, like company culture, for personally, is something that change in a lot of time, in some months. And so it's important that someone, an ambassador or a group of people, starts to change the way of thinking and the way of communicating. And I have seen, for example, during the positive week, that people normally like to see positive posts, positive comments, positive affirmation. It's something natural and not forced.
No, it's. I think people do like it. We're just not surrounded by it as much as we could be. I was wondering, when you were saying that, actually, in the little that we have left, I mean, for you guys, especially like, Full Glass and CyberClick, it's part of the company culture, and you say that this week wasn't that different. But still, I'm wondering if this week did anything for each of you that is going to make you change something moving forward now. So like next week, is there anything that you're going to say, okay, yeah, I'm going to take something from this week and, start implementing it as a regular thing?
I think for me, at least, because this whole notion of company culture and happiness, in fact, I didn't mention it before, but it's completely related to this. Our CEO wrote David, he wrote a book which is called The Happiest Company. It's in Spanish. And it's these 11 steps that you take to make your company happy. And it's really interesting. It's like it couldn't be more perfect fit.
Jürgen wrote the 12 steps of happiness. We should
yeah. And the first one, I always thought, the first time I read the book, I always thought the first one it's the easiest, and it's the one that people overlook. It's to stop and to decide to be happy. It's a conscious change you need to make. And I think we've done that, for example, as a company and within our team. But me personally, I program a lot of the social media posts for our English blogs and for some of our clients as well. And sometimes I don't take that into account while actually programming things on social media. Even, the titles we give our articles on our blogs or something, it's something that you can really, it needs to bleed into everything. And although we really have that as a given almost in our team, I think for me it was a really cool challenge to spread that to other people, not just around us, but through the internet and through our tweets and through our Facebook posts and everything as well.
No, you made me think too, because I do our social media, and then you're making me think also about even like the blogs that we write, like what we're titling it,
Yeah, exactly. Or even like, for example, I program the Facebook posts for some of our clients and stuff like that. And you almost don't think of it as your company, but energy that you're transmitting as well. It's the positivity, it's the ideas that you're also putting out there. And it's important. I think it really made me think that it's really important to do that in those situations as well. And not just in your own personal day-to-day, you know, the way you relate to people.
But our services at Happy Melly and Management 3.0 and even the other Happy Melly brands are to fix problems in companies. So shouldn't we also represent the problems that exist on social media?
Yeah.
But maybe say them in a different way. Maybe be more conscious of the language we're using to do that.
Yeah.
Use like
It's the glass half full,
solution-oriented-
glass half empty kind of thing, right? You know,
You can
two ways.
overcome this challenge. Yeah.
Right. It's not like, why does your life suck? It's like, let's
What doesn't suck in my life?
take the word suck out. Wait, Laya, you've been so talkative during this whole chat. I want to hear what you're gonna do for the next week.
No, I prefer that Chantal talks because my English, I understand really well all the conversation, but
No.
my
Be
English.
positive.
No, yes, it's true.
You speak really well.
It's true that there are problems every day inside the company and with clients, and you need to affront different problems inside and with the team. But I think that Chantal said a good sentence that depends the glasses that you use when you
Confront the
problem.
I completely agree. Diane, what about you? What do you think you're gonna take with you, if anything?
Well, for the Go Positive Week, I wish I'd made more of it than I had. I think I could have done so much more with it. I think I will sort of, work out more positive ways in the future to carry on with the things that I do on social media and things to do for my clients. I think what you say about language is really interesting as well, because a lot of the negativity and the people jump to conclusions on social media because of the language that's used. People get the wrong end of the stick. They don't understand. It's misconstrued because somebody may say something that doesn't come across well in text. You can't express emotion in text, and it's quite often misconstrued, and people get people's backs up straight away, and then there's more negativity. So thinking carefully about the language that you use and the spin that you put on things is something that we should all maybe think about a little bit more, and go forward with that. I think me especially, I should definitely do that.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I just wanted to share something real quick that I thought was really interesting that just popped up on my Facebook, because I was just seeing if the people I had forgotten to give the right link to. Just popped up with someone saying, "Everyone stop and take a minute to pray for my grandma this morning. God got her." I've never seen such a positive way to announce someone died.
You say God got her?
Yeah, and there's an angel. So I guess her grandmom passed away, but she looked at it in a really positive way and is just confident. And I thought that was a really interesting end note.
I think you should put that in the Slack channel as
the screenshot it.
the week.
It's really interesting. So you guys know, if you're already a member of Happy Melly, that we have a weekly challenge that members can join on Slack, but we welcome anyone to join on our social media and things like that. Membership costs nothing, so people should join if they haven't yet.
Yes, Cyberpick, you guys need to join. There's too many synergies here that you're not in Slack.
And it costs nothing. I think
it's really cheap, and you have access to all these discussions with us all the time.
Yeah, it's like 15 from Spain. I think it's €15 a year. So you can't blame.
Okay, well, we'll definitely take a look into that. That sounds really interesting.
And our next week, which kind of got into part of what we were talking about already with remote communication, is actually our Lisette from Collaboration Superpowers, one of our funders, is doing a week on finding happiness at work from anywhere. So that's kicking off right now. We'll be emailing out her blog post soon today for some members, and then we have a whole remote working channel happening already on our Slack, so we hope you guys will get involved in those experiments. She actually has said that I think she's going to do an experiment today. She's going to offer teams which should be really interesting. So bigger than our social media experiment. Very cool.
And Giovanni, we didn't get to you to tell us what you're going to do next week. Do you want to quickly tell us in like 1 minute, like anything you're going to change for the coming weeks in terms of your communication style?
Now, I think, and I agree with Diana about communication. No, that language is very important because in a communication face to face, there is something more. No, there is energy. There is some intangible. No, that is important in communication. In a social communication or using a tool like Slack, it's important and so important language, the baseline of the language, no? Without non-verbal language or other stuff, no? And so it's important, don't use negative verb. Use hand and not but, for example. No, these tips are very, very important to maintain the conversation positive and more than positive, generative. No, to create something. And not only to discuss about something, no, but create with it's the base for collaboration, no. Collaborate means also create something more than before.
Yeah, it's changing the narrative is. Well, I think that's it. I don't know if anyone else had anything last words. I mean, this has been a really interesting discussion, guys. Really, thanks so much for being so forthcoming and
participating. Thank you for organizing it. It was really great.
Jen, it was Jen's idea to do Go Positive, so we got to give her credit. It was really great. idea,
it came from Ramadan. It's the craziest thing how many happy people I met that were fasting during the hottest month of the year. And I found out it's because they were just not eating or drinking, which I thought would make me grumpy as hell. But they were also fasting from being angry, which I think is a really cool thing to do. And are for 40 days straight. So
thank you to Ramadan.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yes, jump on the next challenge. Please, that's challenge for next week, guys. And we will post this we'll embed it in the blog so you get to see the video.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, bye. Have a great afternoon.
Bye, guys.